Yeah, I'll give a brief intro and I'll announce the hymn 450.
Gotcha.
And then we'll do the video and then I'll speak and then dismiss us from there.
So, well, as long as I'm not, seems like it turns those lights off. It's easier to see the video, but I don't think that changes anything.
Oh, yeah, probably not. Those are actually conveniently dim corners as is. A microphone that works. What a relief. I think so. I asked Lauren to start shooting them this way about now.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Hey y'all, thanks for being here. Yes, sir. Everything ready to rock? Yeah. We'll start with the video. I'll say some welcome words and we'll sing one hymn and then we'll go to the video. Okay. Cool. And are we live streaming also? Yes. Okay, great. So I will welcome the two people who are on live stream or whatever it is. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for gathering over here. I know this is hard for us to just come towards the front on one side and be really close together, but it's fitting for this evening. It's echoey. At least it works compared to my other microphone experiences today. Is that any better? Okay, all right. Well, welcome to our third State of the Communion address, and welcome to anyone joining us online. We're glad to be able to live stream this tonight as well. The purpose of tonight is twofold, very simple. First, we're going to look back on highlights from the past year in the form of a video that Brianna put together before she went overseas. And then we will look to the year ahead and lay out some of the priorities towards which we will strive in the coming year. So, let's begin tonight in song, and let's rise and sing hymn number 450, Be Thou My Vision. Hello, Riversiders. What a year it has been. A lot can happen in a year, and certainly a lot has happened around here in the past year. It's wild to think that a year ago, Lauren was still in her first couple months with us, Dana was still being interviewed by her AP&C, and Matt was somewhere over in Germany. Now they're all here with us with a year more of experience under their belts
getting settled into life at Riverside. And our staff is largely complete and in place. With our new staff setup, we're moving into a future that puts our people power right where we want it to be to match our strategic vision of emphasizing our ministry to families and also to our community. On the session level, we've made some changes to our committee structure. We've disbanded the Safe Gatherings Committee now that we are gratefully beyond the daily challenges of the pandemic. We've reestablished the Joint Committee between RPC and RPDS so that we can work more collaboratively with the school on a number of different issues. We've had a task force that has formed to consider our financial position, looking ahead 3 to 5 years, and ensure that we can be on good financial footing as we move into the next chapter of ministry. And our Matthew 25 task force, which worked with all of our session committees to consider the extent to which they were engaging in the priorities of Matthew 25, has shifted to be a permanent subcommittee of community ministries to ensure that the Matthew 25 initiative with which our church is affiliated will continue to flourish in the year ahead. Right here from where I'm standing, all sorts of changes are underway, and in a year from now, my view from this spot will be quite different. We'll have a brand new parking lot across the way here to my right, and the Family Life Center should be nearly done in a year's time here to my left, which will transform the ministries that we're able to offer for our youth as well as for our community. Upstairs on the 3rd floor, work is nearly done on our new youth suite where our middle and high school youth will spend their time much closer to the rest of the action that goes on in the church here in our education building. In pastoral care, Ruth Ellswood recently wrapped up her ministry among us, and now Cheryl Sapora will be starting as our new pastoral care coordinator, so there's some good continuity there for Riverside as we welcome a familiar face from our church to our staff. But our deacon ministry has done a lot of great work this past year, bringing back homebound communion for those who are unable to make it to church on Communion Sunday, expanding their engagement with congregational care. We've started a Care Pals program to match those who are homebound with members who will visit them on a regular basis. And of course, we've continued to all be engaged in outreach ministry to those who may not be able to make it into church as often as they would want. Now you'll have an opportunity to hear from a number of our staff about some of the exciting things that have been happening in their areas of ministry over the past year. I hope you enjoy this year in review.
During the past year, it has been really exciting to see the ways that our congregation continues to grow and change. And I would like to share a few of those with you now. Our children and youth ministry teams have collaborated to put together a new program called Faith Journeys. Faith Journeys includes workshops and special programming for children, youth, and their parents that address faith development stages from birth through high school. The program follows a 2-year rotational model that gives children, youth, and parents more than one opportunity to plug into each specific part of Faith Journeys. The first part that we did was in the spring, where we offered Bible basics for children, youth, and adults. We did this during the Sunday school hour. Sunday school teachers taught the children and youth, and Brian taught the parents Bible basics at kind of age-appropriate levels. And we are excited about what this program, Faith Journeys, brings for us in the next year or two. In our adult ministry, we have also seen exciting new changes. We have been offering seasonal small groups twice a year. These groups have been such an effective way for people to make a short 5-week commitment in which they connect with other members and share a biblical or topical study. Some of these groups have even, in some capacity, continued together to connect and study together. 2022 was the first time in a long time that we had sent a group of women to the Montreat Women's Connection annual event. And in this year, we sent even more. We had 16 women from Riverside Presbyterian and Woodlawn Presbyterian come together and drive up to Montreat. We experienced Kate Bowler and worship and music and connection and workshops. It was really an incredible experience. So I am excited about what we have done in the past and what we are looking towards in the future. It really is a joy to experience the way our congregation continues to grow and change, and I so look forward to the future of RPC.
The prophetic tradition that runs through our scriptures, both Hebrew Bible and New Testament, describes singing as part of the unending praise of God and God's kingdom. We are Christians called to participate in the kingdom of God, which means we are invited to join in the unending hymn during the Sanctus of the communion liturgy and in the life of our worship at all times. As Christians, worship is part of our identity and our calling, and as a scripturally based community, singing is essential to our worship life together. Since joining the Riverside community, I have been consistently impressed at folks' enthusiasm for singing. It has been a joy to join you all in this essential aspect of our life together. I love accompanying you, the congregation, from our mighty Colby Walker organ here in hymn singing each week. The vigor and excitement with which the congregation sings demonstrates your faithful answer to the call to join the unending song as described in the prophetic tradition. I admire the Riverside Choir's dedication to leading worship through difficult circumstances. Through the COVID pandemic to transitions in church leadership, the Riverside Choir has stuck with it, and their dedication makes our entire community stronger together. When you see a choir member next, thank them for all they've done for RPC. I know I'm certainly grateful for them. Finally, the Riverside Choristers program is off to a great start. Our enthusiastic group of young singers come together every Tuesday and Thursday for singing and learning, and help lead us in worship one Sunday every month. Choristers from throughout the Riverside neighborhood and beyond get the chance to learn about the Christian tradition of music making and to experience community together as we sing the hymns and anthems of the tradition. Looking forward, we have an exciting slate of new offerings on the horizon, but for now, I'll just mention the return of Midday Music, our 30-minute concert series at noon. Beginning December 5th, RPC will open its doors to the community to experience the beauty of holiness together in these short programs of excellent music. I hope to see many of you there.
In 2022, we reinstituted some of this church's most beloved traditions. And in 2023, we built on that foundation of fellowship and expanded it. We welcomed hundreds for our big fellowship meals and dozens at dinner church every month. We gathered for Riversiders, we lit things on fire at Epiphany, and cheered for the jumbo shrimp in July. We welcomed visitors and new members for a newcomers dinner in May, and took field trips to a chamber music concert and an art museum. We celebrated together, we played together, we mourned together, and through it all, Michael Lane brewed approximately 1,000 gallons of coffee. One area I am particularly proud of this year is our renewed grief ministry. In February, we hosted a rest and preparedness workshop to help members prepare for the end of life while still in the middle of it. We offered 2 different multi-week grief workshops, one in the spring and one in the fall, creating a safe space for the bereaved to find their new normal. Dealing with the loss of a loved one can be very isolating, and my hope is that this ministry will make Riverside a place where grief is not hidden out of sight, but makes Riverside a place where you never walk the mourner's path alone. I'm excited to see what 2024 brings to our church.
Community outreach functions in 2 ways. We actually operate from the inside out, as well as bringing people from the larger community into this space by providing hospitable ways that people can meet here. For example, monthly meetings that are hosted by Riverside include the Memorial Park Association, Desk, Tradition House, the 5 Points Merchants Association, I Care, the Don Thompson Corral, and many others. Those are just ones that I'm off the top of my head. We also host weekly opportunities for people to gather through Adult Children of Alcoholics. Daily, we have people coming in to collect meals to drive out to people in the community for Meals on Wheels, and that office is housed right here as well. People come in to this building to create stained glass windows. So we have a multitude of ways that we are ministering to people in our community through this use of this space at Riverside. The ways that Riverside is reaching out into the community from the inside out is we host a trash pickup the third Sunday of every month. We also partner with RAP for the cleanup twice a year. And we highlight 3 merchants of the month each month. So I would love to invite you to become familiar with those merchants and to support them financially. We send members of our congregation to be lunch buddies at West Riverside. We host 3 field days each year and bring fun to those schools. We also host RBI, returning baseball to the inner city, with kids in those schools and those at the sanctuary on 8th Street. These are fun events and ones that we do well. I invite you to become part of the solution by helping me flesh out God's call to be a good neighbor and to love our neighbor.
Since I reported to you last year, we've had several major changes to our church campus. The building known as 1016 Oak Street is now gone to make way for a parking lot. And the youth house, which was just demolished this past summer, will become the space where the new Family Life Center will be built. But the buildings that we are here in are now 100 years old. And in 1922, the education building was built, and 5 years later, this sanctuary was built. And we have made some major changes here this year that I'd like to talk about. The facing doors on the south side of the sanctuary here are starting to fall apart. They are 100 years old here. We are either rebuilding or refinishing them so that they will last another 100 years. We've replaced approximately 350 LED lights in our education building and in the sanctuary. What's nice about the LED lights here is that they use about 80% less electricity. The only downside of LED lights is the initial purchase, which they're expensive, but they will save us money in the long run. Several pews in our sanctuary have been shortened. You can see here, and this will enable people that have wheelchairs or walkers that they can keep them beside them without being in the aisle and blocking the way for people that are passing through. New staff and our staff here at the church here have required that we remodel several of the offices that we have here. We've been doing that here, and that takes time. Because of the demolition of the youth house, we now are remodeling the 3rd floor for a youth center, and that remodeling is going on as we speak. The bathrooms, the new spaces are being changed to make it an enjoyable place for our youth to have their activities. Most recently here, we have transferred 90 years of our church's history to the Presbyterian Historical Society located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Those records will be kept safely. It does not cost us anything here unless we would choose to have them digitized here so that we have access to them whenever we need to look at them. One of the nice things here is that if the property group is taking care of our church properly here, you don't know that we're doing what we do. And we hopefully will keep the church looking beautiful, safe, and clean for all of our worship activities.
As many of you know, 2022 was a difficult year for the financial markets with the rise of inflation and the volatility of the stock market. Texas Presbyterian Foundation continues to manage our endowment portfolio well, and although we saw our balances dip in 2022, they have now rebounded almost 13% as we progress through 2023. Riverside was not insulated from rising costs due to inflation in 2022. However, pledged income exceeded our expectations and helped offset this in the operating budget. Through 2023, the staff at Riverside has become well educated on the committee budgets they are responsible for. We are grateful to the staff and committee chairs for their mindfulness in managing the careful balance of spending and resources. The most significant hit to the 2022 budget was the cost of our property insurance renewal. That came in $60,000 higher than expected. In 2023, we received extraordinary premium increases again and now have formed an insurance task force to discuss solutions and the structure of our insurance package to maintain affordability while efficiently mitigating risks. In 2022, our stewardship campaign yielded pledges that were at 85% of our goal. In 2023, we are seeing pledged income lagging a bit behind the budget by approximately $70,000. As Brian mentioned, we've assembled a financial task force to look at innovative ways to increase our revenue streams, reduce costs, and maximize our endowment income. Together, we are working with the Stewardship Committee to support their efforts toward a successful 2024 campaign. One of the great things about my role at Riverside is being able to witness the incredible generosity and continued support of the church from our members. On behalf of our committees and staff, thank you.
Many of you have seen the new addition in the balcony, but let's take a closer look. Oh, how the balcony has changed over this past year. We moved from our longtime temporary live streaming setup to a permanent solution. This permanent AV booth protects all of our equipment and supports our live streaming team so that they can create and produce a great live stream every week. I'm so proud of our live stream team made up of high schoolers and college students. They use their live stream skills every single week to create and produce a quality live stream broadcast. Another thing we have been really focused on in the communication world is making sure that you are receiving all of the information you need and nothing more. We are working hard to continue to customize emails so that you're only receiving the ones you want about the things that you are interested in and want to learn more about. We hope our efforts to keep you connected through the live stream, emails, mailed material, social media, and our website help you feel connected to your Riverside community. And we are looking forward to doing that and much more in 2024.
Reflecting on my past year here at Riverside, I am filled with so much gratitude. Particularly in the youth ministry program, I have loved getting to know the youth and the families. These youth are brilliant and thoughtful and insightful. So last year when I started, Emily and I began to think holistically about the ministry programs offered here at Riverside. And so together with the support of the Children's Committee and the Youth Committee, as Emily mentioned, we created a program called Faith Journeys. So thinking holistically about our whole selves, our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual selves, as well as the whole community, how we journey alongside one another through the different ages and stages of life, we are so excited about this program. Part of the program for the youth ministry part emphasizes the importance of living out Christ's mission. Because of that, this past summer, a group of youth from Riverside went to Charlotte, North Carolina to participate in the Cross Missions program. We went to 10 different nonprofits and organizations that live out Christ's mission by loving and serving the people whom God calls beloved. We were so excited to connect with other youth groups, to partner with them, and we learned more about our own youth group and other people as well. The church is connectional and relational. It's one of the things that I love most about ministry. So earlier this year, a group of high school youth came to me and asked if we could start meeting midweek. They wanted to have a small group together and of course play pickleball. And so we created what we now call Pickleball, Panera, and Prayer. So every other Wednesday, high school youth get together. We meet on the pickleball courts for a time of play and recreation. We then walk across the street to Panera, share a meal together, and pray and have a small group. This is following their energy and their interests, and I am so grateful for this time of relationship and fellowship that we have every other week. We also have specific opportunities for middle school youth. As many of you know, middle schoolers are high energy and very active, and so the activities that we plan reflect those things. We also have chances for them to be reflective and to take a second to pause as they deepen their faith as well. As I said, ministry is connectional and relational, and so one of my favorite parts of youth ministry is watching the middle schoolers and high schoolers interact with one another. You can see the high schoolers model for the middle schoolers, And you can see the middle schoolers look up to the high schoolers and put them in their place as well. It's a great time to be here at Riverside. When I look to the future, I'm filled with hope and excitement, and I hope you all are too.
Well, there you have it. There's been so many exciting things happening this past year, and I hope you have enjoyed that overview of just some of the things that God has been doing in our midst. And now we turn our attention to the year ahead, and we can just imagine how much God will accomplish among us with another year of ministry starting up now. We hope that you will join us and engage with us in the ways that you feel called to as we continue to proclaim the name of Christ right here on the corner of Park and Post. All right. Thanks to everyone on our staff for getting in front of the camera and thinking clearly about the highlights in your ministry areas. I know that was a big ask, and when Brianna gets back, thank her for assembling that video. It's wonderful to get that glimpse of all the things that have been happening here in the past year. As you've just seen in the many faces that appeared in our video, the major achievement from this past year has been our work to acquire a full staff. And as of yesterday, when Cheryl Nieder-Sapora started her service here among us, we have accomplished exactly that. And so for this, I want to start by thanking all of you from the bottom of my heart. It has been hard work to establish this staff. And you have been patient as we have searched diligently to find the right people for the right positions, and as we've shifted roles around to best reflect the needs and the demands of ministry in the present time. In my 3 years at Riverside, I have found you all to be remarkably supportive and trusting and generous. And that's what has made it possible to assemble this team that we have and this team that I'm proud to be a part of. Thank you for making it possible for all of us on staff to work and serve Christ here at Riverside. We really are so fortunate to be among you. Having a full staff is no small thing, and having the right staff is more important still. We've had a great deal of staff change over the last 3 years, but this has given us an opportunity to reconsider our staffing model and hire accordingly. We've actually been able to reduce the number of full-time staff by hiring more part-time employees, all while better staffing youth ministry and community outreach, each with an associate pastor, which reinforces our present emphasis on both of these vital areas of ministry. These changes to our staffing model have made us more efficient and better positioned to pursue our ministry priorities. I'm thankful to our HR committee especially for all of their support as they have formed many search committees to bring into being the staffing structure that I imagined. Stability is important in any organization, of course, and I think it's especially important now for us because every position we have currently is filled by an excellent person. And as the workforce in our country becomes more transient and many different jobs remain vacant across our economy, we should do all that we can to maintain the excellent staff we have in place. We've been fortunate that many of our members have applied for jobs in the church office, and all of them have proven to be excellent hires. Emily Haig, of course, is the godmother of the internal hire, but Wendy Taylor and Elaine Aiken and now Cheryl Sapora have all been tremendous additions to our staff from within our congregation. Other members have stepped in to fill interim roles over the past 3 years to help us cover our needs, and they have been essential to our work. I'm told from good sources within our denomination that for the last many years, there have been about twice as many clergy retirements as there have been ordinations. Even mainstream media has reported on the mass exodus of pastors across all denominations from the ministry during the pandemic. I say all of this only to emphasize how fortunate we are to have been able to fill out our whole staff in this economic environment. Riverside is a great place to be. It's a very healthy and vibrant church, far more so than many churches, I'm pleased to tell you. And Jacksonville is also a desirable place to live. So again, I know I speak for all of us when I thank you for your support and your trust in our staff. A good vision, I think, for the role of the church staff is to equip the members of the church to do the work of ministry. We are here to help and encourage you to use your spiritual gifts for God's glory, both in your everyday lives and also within the sphere of Riverside's ministry. We're here to lead you in worship, to help you learn and serve, to facilitate the faith formation that can happen within our community. In short, the church staff is here to engage your faith. We're not here to do the work of ministry instead of our members. There is sometimes a temptation that I at least feel working in the church to stay as busy as possible so I can justify my existence. So I can point to the calendar and say, look at all the stuff we're doing. Not everyone knows what we do all week, so it's easiest to be able to display a busy calendar and feel good about ourselves, regardless of how many people are actually participating in these things that comprise our calendar. Even just this morning, one of my friends who I saw at the groundbreaking, who often jokes that I only work Sunday mornings, made a joke that he asked, are they giving you a bonus for working on a Tuesday? It is true that many people outside the church don't know what all of our staff do. But we're not here as staff to do a bunch of stuff by ourselves. Our roles depend on our engagement with you, the congregation. The more our members participate in the life of the church, the more fruit we bear as a church. So our primary goal for the year ahead is simply this. We want to increase participation and engagement within the abundant life of the church. The formation of faith community is the name of the game in the church world today. People participate in the ministries of the church when they feel a part of a movement, part of a cause, part of a community. But the formation and maintenance of faith community is harder than ever before for a whole bunch of reasons. One is that our society is lonely and isolated, less inclined to participate in communities, whether religious or civic or otherwise. Another reason is that many people are busy and unable or unwilling to make the time they might want to make to participate fully in the life of the church. And another reason, I think, is the idea that we can practice our faith by ourselves, by listening to podcast sermons on the way to work or going on a hike or a walk on the beach to connect with God, which are good things, of course, but they cannot take the place of gathering as a community to worship and grow together. And in light of these challenges, I think we sometimes imagine that the answer to deepening engagement and participation is to offer more and more programs and more events. The more things we do, the more likely people are to engage in something that tickles their fancy, we think. We think that if we offer something for everyone that matches their talents and passions and takes place at the one time in their week that isn't already scheduled with something else, then they will come and they will stay involved. Well, besides the fact that we don't have the bandwidth to do that anyway, more and more programs are not the silver bullet. Engagement begins or returns for those who have become disengaged when someone has a sense of belonging or rediscovers their sense of belonging. When someone feels a part of a community that has a clear purpose. Young people especially prefer to be part of movements that create meaning for their lives. Warm community, rather than more relevant programs, is the path to deepening engagement. People ask me all the time what we need to do to get the young people into the church. What do we need to do to get the young people involved? Generational differences are a real thing in churches, which are one of the few cross-generational places in our society. This is one of my favorite things about the church and one of its most important roles in our society, I think, but it's also a challenge that we must navigate well. Young people like myself face certain generational realities that can make us pretty difficult to connect with sometimes. I'm not afraid to say that. But what we need most of all is community, because our lives can be scattered and busy and often uncertain. Offering things like dinner and childcare for evening events makes it much easier for us to attend. Being transparent about who we are and why mitigates our suspicion of institutions. And providing sometimes unprogrammed space for us to connect in helps us form friendships. It's important to remember that many of us young people are trying to make ends meet, working full-time, sometimes with 2 full-time jobs in a household, given the housing prices that we face and the major debt from our educations. I'm not saying this as if we have it harder than previous generations. I'm just saying that our challenges may be different, and the church should reach out to young people with a keen understanding of what their lives are like. Here's a good example of something we did last year that recognized this reality. One of the church's most meaningful ministries is the food that we provide to those facing challenging times. For years and years, people have gathered at the church to make lots of meals all at once and freeze them to then take them out to folks facing a difficult time in their lives. This past year, we added the ability to provide a meal to people via the online platform Meal Train. Younger people like me are less likely to have time to cook a meal together, either at church or by themselves in their house, and then deliver it to someone's home. But many of us will gladly order a meal and have it delivered via Uber Eats or DoorDash. It's not a home-cooked meal, I know, but it is an expression of care and concern that we're glad to provide within the framework of our lives. So there you go, different generations providing a meal through the various means that we have. We've expanded our childcare that we offer this past year as well, and should continue to do so. This has been well received by those who need it. This summer, we provided a couple of extra hours of nursery care on Sunday mornings so parents could go out to breakfast or coffee and obtain some precious time together. This was not a flashy new program or anything. It was simply an expression of care for the well-being of young parents, and many took advantage of it. These are the sorts of things that we can do to expand engagement with young people who are looking for friends in older generations who understand their situation and offer a community in which they can connect and be themselves. It's often the older folks who are urging the church to focus on bringing in younger folks. But we must also remember the tremendous value and importance of our older members. They have seen the church through more transitions than just those of the past 3 years. Their generosity has been unmatched and unwavering for decades. And as they grow older, it is crucial that the church continue to walk alongside them until they enter the church triumphant. So we must continue to visit and engage with our aging members as it becomes harder for some of them to come to our campus. To this end, the deacon ministry has formed some new committees, as I mentioned in the video, reestablishing homebound communion and new CarePal ministries to facilitate intergenerational friendships. And our continued live streaming of our services and video devotions offer another connection point for folks who may not be able to make it into the church as often as they once could. Many of our volunteers are reaching an age in which they are longing to step back from their commitments and hand over the reins to the next generation. I hear this desire a lot, and it's only fair, after all, as many of them have poured their hearts and souls into the life of this church for decades. The challenge is that many younger people do not have the time to fill their elders' shoes. Many would love to volunteer and serve in multiple ways, but many simply cannot. And so volunteers are becoming harder to come by, and their time is of the essence. Thus, as we move into the new year, it's important that we pick our spots really well. We need to focus on the things that are prospering, the things that have been highlighted in our video tonight, and strengthen them further. There has been a great abundance in these many ministries across the different facets of our church, and they can grow and deepen further still. When we ask people to join a certain committee or volunteer for something, we need to make sure that what they are asked to do is done really well and proves to be meaningful. We need to make sure that we all invest our time and energy into the things that are forming deeper, more authentic relationships within our community of faith. Rather than spreading ourselves wider and wider with more and more programs, we should focus on investing ourselves deeper and deeper into those things that draw us closer together. Better to have one event or one class that is really well attended and evocative and memorable than to have a bunch of events or classes that are poorly attended and easily forgotten. To move in this direction, we will need to embark on a period of strategic thinking and discerning. As you probably know, the session has begun some of this work with a recent retreat, and that work will continue throughout the year ahead. Our goal is to develop a paradigm by which to evaluate the fruitfulness of each ministry or event, which will inform whether we should continue to invest in it or focus our resources elsewhere. In order to move in this direction, however, we will need all of us together to understand that to do fewer things is not to work any less hard. It's not to be any less vibrant. This is not a cut to our ministries, but rather a deeper focusing, a zeroing in on what's working well, where we see the Spirit on the move in our midst. It's a self-defining process for our identity and our mission, and a redirection of energy to reinforce that identity and mission. This is all the more urgent and important as we begin the exciting construction on our Cornerstone campaign. Thank you especially to those of you who were here this morning and this evening on this really special day in the life of the church. Thanks for bookending your day with us. It's exciting to get shovels in the ground and begin to see this project we've been working on for years come to fruition. When the new facilities are built, they will provide countless more opportunities for more and more stuff. So we should choose wisely how we want to use these facilities to build community among ourselves and among our neighbors. But I'll save more on that for next year's State of the Communion address. In the end, to state the obvious, we are a church, which means that everything we do should further the cause of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is the theological conviction that God gives everyone gifts and abilities by which to put their faith into action that informs how our staff seeks to engage our members to help us all harvest those gifts in a fruitful way to an abundant harvest. And it is the theological conviction that we serve a God who took on flesh and dwelled among us that informs how we seek to be good friends among ourselves and good neighbors within our community. Christian community has elements that distinguish it from human community generally. Christian community worships. Christian community includes and sees value in those other communities might overlook. And Christian community believes everyone has something to contribute, some kind of God-given gift to be used for the common good. Where other communities may see scarcity, Christian community sees abundance. So this year, I hope that you'll engage in the ministry and missions of our church. I hope you'll be a friend among your fellow members and a neighbor among our community. And I hope you'll support us with your time, your talents, and your financial resources as we sharpen our vision and deepen our efforts for the year of ministry ahead. Thank you so much for coming and your interest in this event tonight. And the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. Amen. This concludes our program tonight, right on time. Let's rise for a final blessing as we go forth. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you peace this night and every night. Amen.